I went ahead and did some of the grunt work. So we got the car off the ground. I did that so that we can take off the splash guard and the air dam. Both of those are right there. So now we can begin removing the old AC system. We're gonna remove this AC compressor. So you just press down on the back side of this one right here in the front and pull. It comes out. This one is on the bottom. So give it a little grab, get it off. So all of the bolts are 12 millimeters. Ooh. So we're gonna take this out through the bottom. Good deal. We're gonna remove the brackets that holds these hoses to the radiator. So mines are pretty easy because I didn't have bolts. I just had some zip ties, which worked well. So get that off. Up top, we're gonna loosen the hoses that go to the inside of the cabin. So need a 17 millimeter for the back, and a 3/4 or a 19 millimeter for the front. Give that a twist. And for the bottom, you need a 15/16 for the back. And I just got an adjustable wrench for the front. And honestly, you could really use an adjustable wrench for all of them. But there we go. There we go. The next thing we want to take out is our condenser. So it just looks like a radiator in front of a radiator. So there's 4 10 millimeter bolts holding it in, 2 on each side, 1 here, 1 above it, and 1 there, 1 above it. We're gonna take those out. So we got the 3 bolts and the 1 nut out from the condenser. So before we're able to drop it down, we need to remove this clamp so we can pull this hose out of our way. So these people cut this grass like, boy, I gotta be about 3 times a week. Since we got all our parts out now, let's just do a side-by-side comparison of all of them to see what's different. So my car is a 1990 Miata, and these parts came off of a 1996 Miata. So first up is the high pressure line that goes up to the firewall and back around to the compressor. The fitting is different. This one's a little longer, this one's shorter, but they are the same thread pitch, so that works out great. Obviously this one's gonna have a R12 connection. This one's gonna be R134a. This is just an adapter for when I had R134a going through this system. But as we can see, that didn't quite work out. Only difference is, if you look at these ends, this is the R134a, the new one off the 96 Miata. And this is the R12. We can clearly see, we can clearly see a difference in the port that goes into the compressor. So you see this one is straight, beveled, and this one is wider than it. It's like got a tapered end right here. And then the bolts are different sizes. So this one is bigger, this one is smaller. Next up, we got the low side line. Actually, I have it backwards. This is the high side, this is the low side line, and this is the high side line. So the high side line that goes to the firewall, this one is very different. So same thing here with the fitting that screws into the connection at the firewall. This one's smaller and this one's bigger, but they still connect, same thread pitch. This one, we got our connector for the R12 right here at the front. And for our R134a line, it's down here by the pressure switch, the high pressure switch. And then our high pressure switches are different. You can see this one is big, this one is smaller. They got different connectors. Because this one, the connector comes right off of the switch. And this one, the actual pigtail comes off and plugs in. So what I'm gonna do, I'm probably gonna take this one off and put it into this, since the car, you know, is able to recognize this one, and hopefully that'll work. And then here at the end is where we get the most difference. So our R12 line ends pretty short, but our R134a line comes up and over. But that's because of the design difference that they did on the condenser, which we'll see in a moment. The high pressure line for coming off the compressor going into the condenser. So first off, as we can see, the 134A line is bigger on this one for the port that goes into the compressor, and this one is smaller. Same thing with the bolt holes. This one's smaller, this one's bigger on the R12 line. And then besides that, they look pretty much the same, except for the fact that this one has another connection right here, which they eliminated on the R134A on the later year Miata. But they both curve up and come back around to go into the condenser. So next up, the condensers. So the mounting holes are the same, but here's where the difference is. For the smaller line for the high pressure, you can see it here on this one, here on this one. This one comes out at the bottom for the old R12 setup, and this one right here comes out the top for the R134A setup. But our low pressure line comes at the bottom on both of them. So those are the major differences and similarities between the R12 system found on 1990 up to 1993 Miatas, and the R134A system found on the 1994 up to 1997 Miatas. And I believe they changed it again at 1999 and up. So other things you're gonna need is PAG 100 oil, and you want to get some R134A O-rings. So for our compressors, the only difference in the compressors is the size of the ports and the thread pitch of the bolt and the size of the bolt. But everything else is exactly the same, because we're going to change out every single O-ring from our old Miata hoses that came off this 96 Miata in the junkyard. So, alright, so once you got it off, you want to take it and put all your new O-rings on a clean surface. Because from this point on, all we're going to do is compare them. So get all these singled out. Alright, so what looks like this one kind of does. Any more? That one's too small. I think this is going to be the one. And we're going to take our new O-ring and dip it in the oil. And and we'll install this onto our pipe. Next up, our high pressure line. And side note, we were able to switch out the 96 sensor for the 90 sensor, and they are the same thread pitch, so switch those out, change the O-rings on them. We can take our plug and plug it back in. We're going to prep our condenser. So to get our condenser ready, we need to take the grommets out of these. You see this one is already gone. So first thing you want to do is pop this little metal sleeve up, and then you can pull the grommet out. All right, once you got it out, come over to our new one. Just gonna push the grommet in and take your little metal sleeve, slide it right back on top. And you wanna do that with all 4 of them. Still not lining up. So yeah, we'll just take either zip ties or some twist ties or some type of ties and go through both of those holes, and we'll hold it up like that. All right, so we got one zip tie here at the bottom. We didn't actually put anything at the top, and it's sturdy. So we just cut the zip tie back, make sure it's not touching the radiator, and we're gonna see what happens with that. Let's go ahead and take our hose and reconnect it back on the barb. Get needle nose. I love these things with the bent tip. So convenient. Okay. Alright, y'all, so I got the bolts and I put some washers on them since they're aftermarket. I don't know how strong they are, but that'll distribute it evenly around that surface area that they're going to be tightening on. We can finally install our last component, which is our dryer. It says in on the left hand side, so that in is going to go over here on the left side of the condenser when we're facing the car, and the other side goes to the other line that's sitting there. Alright, so after fighting with it for a few minutes, we finally got it in. 3/4 inch wrench on it and tightened it on up. Put a crescent wrench on top of here, and then you can hold it in place and get it real snug whenever you get done tightening it. Alright, so now our system is all together. So everything from here on out is normal AC work. So I got a set of manifold gauges. We're going to connect the high pressure line to that cap and the low pressure line to that cap, and we're going to connect a vacuum pump to the yellow line coming off the manifold, and we're going to draw a vacuum and make sure everything's sealed and we don't have any leaks. So let's get started on that. Alright, so now here at our manifold gauge, you can see we have it closed on both sides, and our yellow line is connected to our vacuum pump. So what we're gonna do, start up our vacuum pump. We're gonna come up here, we're gonna open the cold side, and you'll see it suck down. We open up the hot side too. So the side that we're going to be paying attention to is the cold side, because it actually has readings, and we want it to get as close to 30 inches of mercury as possible. So we'll let this run for about 15 minutes and let it have time to get down there. So in the meantime, we can go ahead and hook our compressor back up. So our blue connector, if I can get my hands on it. There we go. Blue connector goes on this brown plug, and our little tan connector goes with this other tan connector. There we go. That should be tight enough. All right. So now we take a look at our gauge. It's at right about 29 inches of mercury. So ideally, that is where most cars get. You ain't gonna get no perfect vacuum, so I'm gonna go ahead and close them up. All right, turn our pump off. We're gonna let this sit for about an hour. So if you got anything to do right now, if you ain't pick your Freon up yet, like some people, I don't know, who would do that? Who would not get their Freon before they do an AC job? Psh, who would, man, amateurs. But yeah, if you if you didn't get your Freon, this would be a good time to go get it. So that's what I'm finna do. I mean, that's what, you know, amateurs would do. So see you in an hour. All right, y'all, so it's 8:13. It's been a little over an hour, and as you can see, it's in the exact same spot. So we do not have any leaks in this system, which is great. So now we're going to turn our vacuum pump back on and let it continue for another 45 minutes. And then at that point, we can go ahead and fill the system. Over an hour, so we're going to close off our manifold again. Turn off the vacuum pump, and we're going to unhook the vacuum pump. So to purge the line, we want to take our puncturing part of this adapter and twist it down some, and then we'll back it off a little bit, and we're going to turn the can upside down. So I use a stick, a little piece of stick, and all I'm gonna do is press this valve in the middle till Freon comes out. And as you can see, some is now coming out. So we want a full stream of it, and there we go. It's been a while. We want to turn our AC to max, cold. We're gonna put it on face. We're gonna hit our AC button to activate our compressor. Okay, so this car takes 21 ounces of R134a, which is this stuff here. So first, we're gonna open up the low side, but only the low side. And we're gonna open it slowly because we don't want to shock the compressor in the system with Freon. So as you see, that needle shot up and it's taken in charge. So both of those needles are moving right now. You can see the cold side is at 60 and the hot side is steady building. So our goal is for that hot side to be between 150 and 250. And we can just, as we just heard, the compressor just kicked on. So that's good. That means our electrical circuit's working. So one thing to do to get the Freon to go in a little quicker, shake the can 3-second intervals up inside, and that helps move the liquid Freon in through the system. So it took about a whole can, so that's 12 ounces. It says it's supposed to take 21, but I don't want to overcharge it, and it's nice and cold inside the cabin, so that's good enough for me. I'm gonna leave it there for now. If I need to add more later, I will, but it's sitting at 20 on this side, excuse me, and about 230 on this side. So we're gonna call it right there. Like I said, y'all can't see cold, but it's nice and cold inside this cabin. So that's all I was concerned about. And yeah, it's cold out of all the vents. Alright, so now that we got the AC working, final thing we want to do is open up both of our valves. So we're going to open up the cold side first, and then push our collar up, pull it off. So same thing, we're just going to open up the valve at the top. Once we get it open, pop our little collar up. And this one might have a little pressure behind it, but it's okay. Press down, up. That was painless. So we can take our high side dust cap, screw it on. And we finally have working AC. This car has officially been converted to R134a. So you can put your air dam back in. I already got mine in. And put your splash guard on. Lower your car and you're good to go.